I'm an intern at the Village Garden, and I've been working with the compost systems that are part of the Compost Engineering Challenge. And I wanted to talk a bit about how they've been doing over the summer. As of lately, the 5-gallon bucket vermicomposter has been doing well. There's been no odors, the moisture levels have been good, and it's been well aerated. However, over the summer, we ran into some problems and we noticed that the worms were dying. And this is because when we first set up the system, when we were putting in the browns and everything and filling up each of the buckets, we mixed in too many greens with the browns, which created too much moisture. And also, the system did not have any holes drilled into the side or the lid when it was first set up. This caused a problem for airflow, and this is part of the reason why it got so stinky, and a lot of the greens that we put in just weren't decomposing properly. So what we did to fix the problem was we drilled some holes in the side, and we also went into each of the buckets, took out those greens that weren't decomposing properly, and then mixed in a bunch of sawdust and coffee grounds to absorb all the moisture. And then we reintroduced some worms that we got from the continuous flow system, and the worms were able to thrive in a more hospitable environment. So we've also been dealing with a high presence of mites, and to deal with this, we've been adding diatomaceous earth. We've just been sprinkling on a layer on the top over the mites every week during the feedings. And what I've also been doing is taking this paper that we have that you put on top before you put on the lid and leaving that in the sun, because the sunlight will kill the mites. Besides the issues that we ran into, the system was pretty easy to maintain. My recommendations to anyone who might be building a system similar to this one would be to make sure that you're using enough browns when first setting up the system, whether it be sawdust, cardboard, leaves, shredded paper, because it's easier to add in more moisture than it is to take out of the system. I would also suggest using bigger buckets if you end up having more food scraps. Also, what might be good is using a cloth instead of this paper. My last recommendation would be to just make sure that you have enough holes in for aeration, and that the holes at the bottom of the buckets are wide enough for the worms to travel through. You want to double check and make sure that you have the right drill bit. So with the continuous flow system, we've had no moisture or aeration issues over the summer. There's also been no mite presence. We haven't had an issue with that. And the worm colony's been doing great. It's basically doubled in size. Overall, the system was easy to maintain. The only problem that we had was that the lid broke. As you can see, it came off the hinge. This system is it's pretty big, so it takes up a lot of space also. And my recommendation for future students who might be building something similar would be to build it with sturdier walls. This might allow for the lid to be attached more securely. And also what might be helpful is having the system a little closer to a fence or a wall. That way, when you open it up, when you're flapping the lid back, it can sit against the wall or fence and it doesn't have to swing all the way back, because that was probably straining the hinge. It's also important to make sure that the lid doesn't fully seal the system. Like, there's air gaps that are created here, basically because the lid isn't the perfect size of the box, so that's how the air is getting in. If you do build a lid that seals it on top though, you're gonna want to drill holes in the side so that it can still be aerated. With the compost in placer, there's been no real moisture or aeration issues over the summer, and there also have been no mites. The system was very easy to maintain, and we had no problems with it over the past few months that it's been being maintained. I would recommend for anyone who might be doing a similar design to have multiple of these in the garden bed. So in this one, you could probably have 2 or 3 more. And I would recommend doing this because it's creating a leachate that's seeping from the bottom, and what it's been doing is it's been enriching the soil in the garden beds. But the problem is that it's only benefiting the spot where the composter is. So if you had multiple in the garden bed, then it would be able to spread out better. The recommendation I am making is mainly targeted to households who are collecting enough scraps to meet the demand of more than one system, which is 2 to 3 pails of scraps every week. But if you are wanting more leachate enrichment in the garden bed through this system and you don't have an abundance of scraps, you could have multiple systems that are fed smaller amounts than what is recommended every week. However, the compost will take a longer time to finish since you will need to create more layers over time. Another strategy that could work with just having one of these would be to move the composter to different spots in the garden bed every couple of months. Thank you for watching.